What is shaking, everybody? Welcome to another Brand Doctor live stream. Today, we're going to be talking about designing a brand from scratch, what goes into it, and how we here at Unique Designz actually, how we do it. Because a lot of people have been asking, like, some of the stuff that you come out with is pretty sharp. Like, is it just you guys being so veteran in this space, or is it something that I could potentially do with a design team that may be just a couple of years old? And so I do want to stress that it does have to deal with a tremendous process on how we get to where we get with our brand identity systems for our clients. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to share with you some stylescapes. So stylescapes are a process that we use to help direct the design direction for either a new brand or a rebrand, to get an idea of client preference, one, and two, what's really going to resonate with the ideal client that is going to be buying from our clients. And is the brand identity, is the color scheme, is the typography, is the image treatment, is the logo, is that all going to connect on a level that's going to make somebody say, you know what, I am going with this company. So before we do that, guys, I just want to plug the brand assessment one last time for the week. Guys, brand assessment is a phenomenal service that I provide. It is a one-on-one consultation with me to get an understanding and assess where you're struggling right now with your branding, with your messaging, with your positioning online, and figure out how we can help you get to where you want to be in all of those categories. So if you're stuck and feel like you're burning out because you don't know which way to go next, and you're not getting the results that you're looking for with your marketing, your branding, your messaging, all of the above, highly recommend you go to uniquedesignz.net and book a one-on-one assessment with me. I will spend 45 minutes to an hour with you, sometimes more. I typically don't turn off Zoom at the 45-minute mark and tell you to go show. I'll get down to the bottom of it with you and see whether or not we're a good fit to work together, or you're better fit for another program or another company that I could refer you to. So it doesn't hurt to get a brand assessment to see where you're at, see where you want to go, and what's blocking you, because a lot of times my clients like to self-diagnose themselves. And that's a really tough thing to do. So, Oasis, I love having you on today's show, because as a fellow creative, I'm sure you're going to have questions. I'm sure you're going to have moments where, like, yeah, this is exactly what we do. Or, oh, I haven't thought of that. This is a cool thing that we could potentially implement for our firm. So welcome to the show.
Excited. Again. Super excited. And thanks for having me on again. One of the things that you just brought up about this whole self-diagnosing part, stop treating branding and the visual identity part, or the visual design part, as a WebMD. Don't go into your own WebMD and start diagnosing your business from that angle and say, okay, well, this is what's wrong, and we can self-medicate.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't work in your favor in the health perspective, and it's not going to work in your favor on the business perspective.
Amen to that. And for all our folks that are watching live today, if you have any questions or comments, please drop them in the comments, and we'll be fielding those and highlighting those as we go here. So let's jump into stylescape number one. So let me give you the backdrop of what I'm about to show you. So I had a client over the summer reach out and say, listen, we're in desperate need of a business rebrand, but I'm also in desperate need of a personal brand presence online. I have nothing right now that really represents me on a level that I'm comfortable and confident with. So I said, we'll take you through the process. We'll discover what it is that you're trying to do and how you're trying to position yourself. We'll figure out who your clients are. So this is the strategy part of the Brand Accelerator program. This is where we actually understand who they're trying to serve, understand their product offering, and understand what needs to happen to connect those two together to make it all work, right? To make it all consistent and cohesive and functional, right? So we went through 7 or 8 strategy calls, workshop calls, I like to call them. And then I went away. I created the brand brief. I talked about that yesterday on my Instagram. And the brand brief is really an articulation of who the business is and what they stand for, right? So that brief then gets sent to my design team. The design team starts to put together mock-ups of design direction, right? So I'm going to show you 2. I'm going to show you the personal brand. And it's so funny, right before this call, I actually had the review call with the client. So I actually have some funny response to some of the design concepts that we came up with. So I'll share those with you in a second. So let's first look at the personal brand of the design. Okay. So this was concept number 1. So what we're doing here is we're teasing out logo design concepts. We want to see what the client is going to resonate with. We're going to see what the client hates. We're going to see if they like the color scheme, the typography, again, the image treatments, things like that. Right. So this was concept number 1. And it's funny. I wish I could show you. I wish I could like edit in the reaction when they first saw this.
Isn't it rewarding when they get so excited when you show them all this?
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's like they start to see things come together.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge thing. Like, you know, when they're going through the workshop with me, one of the big questions I get at the end is, man, you know, the workshopping we've done was great, but like, I don't know what you're going to do with all of this, because they're not creative. They're not designers. They're not, you know, they're not in the space. So they think we're like, you know, what, you know, they think that we like pull things out of the sky. No, we have a process behind the scenes that we're not going to bore you with, but this is how we get to, you know, all that workshopping gets to this, and this is where it starts to get sexy and exciting. So when I showed him this right away, blown away by the color scheme, loved the richness of the logo, and was pumped. Okay. So this was concept number 1. Now concept number 2, a little bit more modern, a little bit more toned down, a little bit more conservative as far as color scheme goes. So again, we're teasing out what a potential website could look like on mobile, what a potential website could look like on desktop, how the color schemes and imagery is all going to play out. Right. And you're probably wondering, like, who are these people that you're featuring in the Stylescape? Well, when we do client profiles, we actually go out and find the best description, and visual identity of this particular client that they're going after, and we design the brand around them. So that's why they're in the Stylescape, because this Stylescape needs to attract a man like him. Otherwise, it's not a good Stylescape. It's not a good brand identity design. Okay, so that's why we use the actual profile identity of the client, of our client's client in the Stylescape. So
that's what, you know, I will say this, that's what throws a lot of clients off. They're like, oh, who is that? That doesn't represent our company. It's like, that's someone that you're targeting.
Right. So when I asked them, you know, what's your take on this one? They said, a little underwhelmed. It doesn't quite match the first one. It doesn't quite compete with the first one. I said, okay, great. So this was concept number 2. Now concept number 3. I got a knee-jerk reaction of the color scheme because we went a little aggressive with the color combination here on purpose. Right? We wanted to tone down the logo for the his name and just do something super font-based, super simple, but have a touch of elegance to it. And they said, okay, but not really feeling it. Not really feeling it. All right. And they just said, I don't know. I really, the colors are vibrant, but it's still not holding ground to the first concept. Right. So it was funny because we're going through this process, and one of his assistants says, I feel like we're beating you up over here. You put so much time and effort into these things and we're just like trashing it. I'm like, no. You don't know how that is so helpful to us and the design team, because it narrows focus. It narrows direction. It gives us now a bullseye to kind of go after. Right. So yeah, we don't take this stuff personal. The whole point of this process is to look at our options and see what is best going to resonate with our ideal client. Okay. So this was concept number 3. All right. So after all said and done, we concluded that this was the winner. Okay. There was one other person that needed to see it before we actually get the green light on it. But that's the whole point of the process. So now, if we do get the approval on this, now I could create some logo, what we call logo application decks. So to just sell the logo home, what we'll do is we'll create an application deck. It's 4 or 5 slides, 6, 7, 8 slides. It depends on how creative the team is on it. And if I want more, what we do is we put the logo on actual brand assets that the client might potentially use in the future, so they can see the logo in action in real life. And then they can say, oh man, look how that looks on a business card, or look how that looks on the website, or look at how that looks on my Facebook cover image and my YouTube cover image. Like, yeah, sold. Right. So that's the extra steps that we take when we're designing logos and brand identities. So, people get an experience. It's a process. It's an experience. It's not typical of what the cheaper agencies do.
So I want to ask you a question, because again, you're the one that's primarily talking to the clients during your workshops, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same thing on my side. So how much of the design direction, at least initially, are you providing to your team? You're essentially translating what you've taken from the client, and now you're communicating that. Obviously, it's all put into that workshop.
Yeah.
But where are you coming in during that design process?
Yeah. So in between the stylescape and the completion of the workshopping, I spend my personal time distilling all of the workshop document down into a brand strategy guide. Some people call it briefs. You call it whatever you want, but we call it the brand strategy guide. And what that is all of that discovery distilled down into a very refined and laser focused, what's the word, purpose, position, identity. And that now gets sent to the design team, and then the design team and I sit down and we have our kickoff meeting. So I basically explain how I created that brief, what went into that, the thought process behind it all,
Mhm.
how we got to that one-liner, right? And that the design now needs to revolve around that, because that's what's going to attract the ideal client, right? So the brief will do a lot of the heavy lifting for me. That's the answer to your question.
Yeah.
I do a lot of the prep work, if you will, and then send it over to the team with the brief, and then they go to town on it, right?
Okay.
9 times out of 10, I'll get stylescapes back that look outstanding. There's very little frustration on my end. There's very little disappointment on my end. So again, it all comes down to that prep and how well that brand strategy guide is prepared. Because that's basically the the blueprint, I guess.
Yeah.
For the beginning of the identity. So we have a question here from Michelle. What happens when a designer insists that a certain color scheme will work for the target clientele, but the client isn't feeling it? It's a really good question. You want to take a stab at that? I have my thoughts.
I have been on this. I've been in this situation so many times where, you know, the client is telling us one thing. We're like, okay, look, who are we designing this for? Who are we design? You know, who's going to be purchasing your offering, you or your client?
Yeah.
And so, you know, I always have to defend my team, and of course, you know, we're being hired as a specialists.
Mhm.
So at the end of the day, it's you know, yes, we have to take our client's preference
Mhm.
into consideration, but you know, on the higher side of that is like, look, we got to get them to understand that their clients, their specific customers, are going to be the end user of that design.
That's it. So to your point, I take myself out of it. I take my team out of it completely. You know, I pin it on the ideal client. Just like you said, you know, it's not about you liking the color purple.
Yeah.
It's not about me liking the color purple. This is why I think the color purple is best going to resonate with the ideal client.
Yeah.
And please shoot me if I'm wrong, right? Like if I'm wrong, you know, let's shoot it down. Let's figure out a compromise that is going to best serve the client. Because it's not about you. It's not about me liking it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's how I approach it. So that's a great way of approaching it. I necessarily, Michelle, would never insist on anything. You know, I'll give you a funny story. When I first started the stylescape process in my business, I was very uncomfortable with it because I've never done it before. So here's the big mistake that I used to make. I used to come in and I used to showcase the 3 stylescapes, and I used to put my opinion on all of it. This is why I did this. This is why I did that. This is why we did this. And now I don't do that anymore. Now I present the stylescape and I say, here's concept 1. And I take them through. And then I say, what are your initial feelings on this? What grabbed you? What underwhelmed you? What overwhelmed you? I take myself out of the whole scenario. And man, when I tell you the level of stress that subsides when you do that, especially when you get, you know, I've presented stylescapes where there's 15 people on the frickin' Zoom call. Now, not all of them have feedback ability. But if you're not used to public speaking or presenting anything, that can be extremely overwhelming, right? So picture me trying to do this. I'm a beginner at it and having to do it in front of 15 people that I don't know, right? It used to scare the shit out of me. Now I don't. Now I just present and I say, what do you think? And I always preface, listen, you're not going to hurt my feelings. The whole point of this is to tear this damn thing apart, because the goal is to use this as a direction tool. That's it. That is it. All right. So I want to get back into, okay, so that was the personal brand design identity that we came up with. So that's the process. So now looks like that concept 1 was approved. Now we're going to create the logo deck, show some conceptual application, and then that'll be approved. And then we can actually get into designing their social media identity, right? So we'll do all their cover designs, things like that. And then that's done. That part of the project's done, right? So getting to the other piece. Now, the other task that I was hired to do was to rebrand his current business, which is Wealth Our Way. So we didn't have to change the name, but we did have to change the identity because the identity was hurting. I wish I could show it. I think he took down the website, but let me see if I can show you what yeah. So that's his current logo right now.
Wow.
All right. That's his current logo right now. So you can see the difference in quality, professionalism. It's very pixelated. Like this is the website that we're going to redo very, very soon. We haven't got there yet, but this website will be knocked down.
Definitely getting a facelift.
Yeah. So concept number 1 for the new logo is this. And we custom designed the W with the little bow tie. Okay. This is it's all about leveling up your wealth. It's all about creating that freedom. It's all about feeling good about you. Right. So this was concept number 1. So we're highlighting again. Letterhead, things like that. Print collateral. Typography. Okay. So they love the logo. They just didn't like the typography because it didn't have that premium punch that Charles Harris logo did. Right? It's kind of just there in this blocky format, right? So I told the team, let's punch this up a little bit. Let's see what we can come up with. Let's see if we can create a little bit more of an elegant feel to it without overdoing it. We don't want it to look like a high-end restaurant, right? Right? That's not what we're doing here. Okay. The other suggestion from the client was, let's get rid of this sand brown color and this pickle blue wood and bring in some sort of green for money, right? Because the green's going to go well with the silver trifecta here. All right. So that's something that the team's going to be working on. So they're going to be punching up the logo typography, and they're going to replace the sand brown and the pickle blue wood. Okay. Sin Mobley says, fascinating watching your process. I appreciate it, Sin. Thank you. So this was concept number 1. Okay. So they didn't hate it, but they didn't love it. Okay. Concept number 2, we went with a little bit more of a modern look for the logo. Different color scheme altogether. Now, keep in mind, a good question came up in the review call. The assistant said, does Charles Harris' personal brand have to coincide with the branding for Wealth Our Way? I said, absolutely not.
That's what I was going to ask too.
Yeah. I said,
are you connecting the two?
Yep, absolutely not. If Charles wants to go become a dog trainer tomorrow, he can go do that, with that brand, with that personal brand identity. I hope he's a premium dog trainer because that identity looks very premium. But it doesn't have any connection to wealth our way, and it doesn't have to. Okay. That's the whole point of a personal brand, is to create something that you can go and do multiple things with. You could be in multiple industries and it still represents you to the best of its ability. All right. So this was concept number 2. We got a little underwhelmed feeling with this. Nothing really electrifying here. And then we had this one got the funniest reaction. So we showed him this concept, which we went a little creative with the color schemes and the color combination. And the first thing, it was maybe 3 seconds after putting this on the screen that the client goes, no. He was like, absolutely not. Yeah, just not feeling this one. And we all got a big chuckle. And they said, after seeing the other 2 logos, this logo looks just not even in the same zip code as the others. So good point. Right. Good point. And I said, what do you love best about this one to the client? And he said that it's over. That we're done looking at it.
Yeah.
So we all had we had a big chuckle. But that's the point. Like, again, no offense taken here. The whole point is to help the Stylescapes direct the conceptual design. It's so funny. Sin says burn. Yeah. I tend to agree. I think that the other concepts were a little bit better put together. And so now what we have to do is take this concept here, enhance the color scheme, enhance the logo. And then once that gets approved, then we can showcase the logo design and application, go through the same steps that we're going to do for the personal brand. And then once that's all done, then we create our brand guidelines. That's basically a digital book, if you will, that will basically tell all the designers in the future how they need to design for the brand, what typeface to use, what color schemes to use, what image treatments to use. And if they don't abide by the guidelines, they don't approve the work. All right. And then once that's all done, then we can design their funnels. We could design their websites, and that stuff kind of goes quickly because all this heavy lifting has been done already. So Sin says, that's really helpful. The explanation of separating personal brand and business brand. Yeah. I think that's the best way to explain it, in my opinion, to let everybody know that, like, that's the whole point of a personal brand, is to be able to do other things. Like Gary V, how many different, he's got his hands in 100 different things, right? And he's got that little G as his logo, and it looks like it kind of reminds me of like the Jordan logo in a sense, right?
Yeah. Like a signature.
Yeah, but he could do anything with that, right? He could do anything with that. So there you have it, guys. That is how I design brand identities from scratch for my clients. You could see it's a process. You could see it's not something that's done overnight. You could see that it's not something that's cookie cutter. It's very customized. There's a very structured framework that I use that allows us to get to that quality of design that I just don't see much of out there these days. Everything is like quick. Let's just do it on Canva. And listen, Canva is a great program, man, but I don't think $1 million brands are getting their whole brand identities designed on Canva. Maybe after they go through this process, they use Canva to design collateral later on. But to actually create a brand from scratch, this is the process that we take our clients through. It's very detailed.
Canva is not going to think for you. That's another tool, just like Photoshop. Yes, you have access to templates, and same thing. I would venture to say the same thing about, you know, these the low end accessibility to like Fiverr or 99 Designs, whatever those places are. Great, they can put together some stuff for you, but they're not going to do the thinking for you.
No.
This is where, you know, this is where we're coming in and putting
Yeah.
together a significant amount of time. Just like you said, I mean, the workshop is really where the meat of this entire thing is. That's where it provides that blueprint.
Right. So, you know, it's discovery, it's strategy, and then it's application. So again, how I got the brand doctor name is diagnosis, prescribe, and apply. So in this phase of the process, we're actually in the application phase. We're applying the prescription. And that's how we're getting the beautiful design identities that we're getting. So somebody wants to take a look at the brief. Yeah, that's where you got to pay the big bucks. The briefs they don't show. That's the lock and key. You know, Oscar, I love you to death, but yeah, you know, I work with. I have a dear friend who I've been working with for the past 2 years. He does big work for some of the biggest brands on the planet, and you've heard probably all of them that he's worked with before. And as close as I am to him, he will not show me briefs for certain brands. And it's just one of those things that are extreme. I did see the one he did for Adidas though, which was freaking awesome. I mean, it was awesome. He didn't do the brief though. It was given to him because he was doing some design work for them. Killer. I mean, they left
a lot of detail.
Yeah, they left nothing to the imagination. Like if the circle wasn't a perfect circle, you couldn't use that circle. Like I'm joking, but that's
no, but I mean, attention to detail is big. Especially the larger the brand gets. I mean, there's a lot of, you know, there's a high risk and of, you know, just a high risk of failure there if you don't follow very specific instructions.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, to his point, Oscar, the true creative process is in that brief. You know, that brief is really going to help long term. Keeping that design identity functional and keeping it cohesive and consistent and doing the work, doing the job it's supposed to get the right clients into the funnel and into their world.
And this goes back to your you know, I think we had this conversation the other day, and we keep talking about systems and process. Well, this is a system and a process for a brand.
Yeah.
So that it can be continually, you know, when you say cohesive and consistency, well, that comes through the system and a process so that it can be, you know, it turns into more of a redundancy. It turns into something that you can replicate over and over again without messing things up.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. We talked actually about this. So a couple clients that I'm working with right now so the one that I just showed you, we're in the design phase. I just wrapped up at this a workshop phase for another client this morning as well. And we were talking about like templatizing things, and he was sharing frustrations of copywriters he's hired recently that literally had a whole bunch of templates, and they were just like kind of punching his stuff into the templates. And he was like, it was such a horrible experience. I fired them very, very quickly because you could tell that it was just so cookie cutter. And that's something that I want to address here and with my process. It's the framework is the power, is what keeps things on rails, right? So when somebody comes through my workshop, they see things are very, very structured. You know, every call has a theme and it has a flow to it. The cool thing about what I do is the framework is the framework, but the customization and the personalization that I create for the client is one of my biggest points of differentiation. Just, there's only one of me in the world. You're never going to do it like me. No matter how much I show you, you're never going to be able to do it like me. And the same thing goes for you guys. I'm not trying to paint myself as this special person. I'm saying we're all special in our way. So, you know, thought of the day is, how are you personalizing your experience with your clients? How are you able to take your processes and systems and frameworks and customize it for your clients? I don't care if you're in the creative space. I don't care if you're a consultant, right? That's what I'm doing with this client right now. Is he's got this beautiful program that he brings CEOs through. And he has to, we're in the process of creating an experience for those CEOs. That's personalized and customized to them. So there you have it, guys. 36 minutes in, and I feel like we nailed it. So yeah, if you have any questions, guys, drop it in the comments. I get back to you as soon as possible. Again, feel free. You know, if you need help when it comes to branding, messaging, positioning online, and you're just stuck and you're looking for some guidance, you're looking to get that momentum back, highly recommend you book a one-on-one assessment with me, and I can walk you through that process and get you that clarity and focus that you're looking for. And if you haven't subscribed yet to the YouTube channel, The Brand Doctor, go check that out. Hit that subscribe, hit that bell button. And we are here every Monday and Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, where we do the podcast on Mondays and the live streams on Wednesdays. And our goal here is, again, to help you understand the branding process better, understand the importance of branding in your business and how that helps you position yourself to attract the right clients, and that it represents the true value that you deliver. So have an amazing day, guys, and we'll catch you next week. Take care.